Do you ever feel so awkward on camera that it can actually stop you from recording your YouTube videos in the first place? Do you ever wonder, what do I do with my hands? Why does my hair look so bad? I feel like I get on camera and I'm a bumbling idiot. Well, don't worry. We've all been there. We all had to start somewhere. And by the end of this video, I will give you some simple, actionable tips to stop feeling so awkward on camera and crush your next video. If you're new here, hey, I'm Shirley, former television reporter turned entrepreneur. I now help other business owners elevate their impact on video and get visible on media, podcasts, and stages. I was not always confident on camera. In fact, there is a video on YouTube that to this day continues to haunt me. It got 2.8 million views, and it is my very early and humble beginnings on TV.
Teacher Shirley Engel is live outside Best Buy in Burlington tonight with some die-hard gamers. Good evening, Shirley.
Good evening, Nick. Well, the lights are out and the doors are closed at this location, but just check out.
So no, I wasn't always confident on camera, and it did take me years to get that way. But it doesn't mean it has to take you that long, because I've come up with a system to help you quickly move past some of those things that held me back for years. This video is part of my 90 days to 10K challenge on YouTube and LinkedIn, growing to 10,000 followers, subscribers, you name it, in 90 days. First of all, let's get one thing out of the way. Feeling awkward on camera is totally human and totally normal. There is nothing usual about sitting in front of a lens, looking into it, and talking like you're speaking to a person. It's weird. It's awkward. Let's just call it what it is. But here's the other thing about getting on camera. That awkwardness is actually a sign that you're getting outside your comfort zone, especially if you're not used to doing this. And once you get out of your comfort zone, that's where the real growth happens. So think of it like you going to the gym, right? The first time you go, a couple times, you feel awkward. You look at the other people and they seem to be so ripped and jacked and buff, and you're like, what am I doing here? I can't even make it through a few reps without feeling like I'm out of breath. But then you keep going and, you get better each time, 1, 2, 3% better. Maybe you start to make much bigger leaps the more you go and the more you do it. And eventually other people look at you and say, wow, that person has really got it, but that takes time. That is something that only comes with the reps, doing it again and again and again. And if you're serious about growing a YouTube channel, using video in your business, there really is no way around it but through it. But don't worry, I'm going to give you a few pointers on how you can instantly make this easier for yourself. Here are a few things that you can do, first of all, before you even hit record, to feel less awkward on camera. Right now I'm filming on my Sony camera and I have a screen where I can actually see myself. And you can get quite distracted by that, especially if you're filming on a phone and you're actually looking at yourself when you film on the phone. So that image of yourself can really throw you off. So if that's something that is going to get you all in your head when you hit record, that's tip number 1. Don't film like that at all. So put the screen away so you're not tempted to look at yourself and get distracted by yourself or start getting all in your head about why you look or sound so awkward. You don't have to get all, done up and put on fancy clothes or anything like that. But if you take a few minutes to set up some good lighting, good audio, put on a color that makes you feel good, get yourself in the zone by doing something that makes you feel good about yourself. And for everybody, that's going to be different. So before I started this video, I put on this really, really bright blue color because it makes me feel energized. It makes me feel better. And ultimately, this is all about psychology. So if you show up feeling a little bit better, then you're going to come across as less awkward, as more confident on camera. So, put a little bit of effort into it, but only as much as you normally would to, go out for a drink with your friend or go for a cup of coffee or something like that. It doesn't have to be this big production, because that makes you feel a little bit unlike yourself, and then that comes across on camera. I'm over the age of 40, and a lot of entrepreneurs are these days, especially a lot of you women. I see you, moms. We're tired. We're running businesses. We're trying to put these videos out, and we don't always feel like we look our best. The secret is getting some good box lights, soft box lights that I'll show you a shot of right here. These always make me look better. They always soften the fine lines and make me focus on that stuff less. I have tried filming myself without these lights, and that makes me feel awkward, even now, 20 years into my video career. That does not have to mean putting on tons of makeup, getting your hair done. Don't do any of those things, especially if that's not what you normally show up like in real life. The first thing you have to know about being on camera and being especially on YouTube in 2025 is that people are craving authenticity. ChatGPT took us by storm in 2024, and people are really sensitized to the fact that there's a lot of AI use. So just you showing up, being you, imperfectly you, is automatically going to make you more relatable and more interesting to people because you're not a bot, you're not a robot. It's not some post that could have easily been written by AI. It's you showing up, talking on camera. So if you're coming from that place of authenticity and like it's okay to screw up and stumble, that automatically takes away some of that pressure to get it out perfectly the moment you start talking. Now, this might sound really obvious, but before you start recording, don't record in a really cluttered place. A cluttered surrounding leads to a cluttered mind. You want to have a nice, relaxed approach when you're in front of the camera. And if you're in a space that feels really like cluttered and crowded, then that's going to come across to the viewer. You're going to feel a bit insecure about your background and you're going to feel more awkward on camera. That doesn't mean we want you recording in front of a white wall. Please don't do that. But try to pick a surrounding that you feel good in, something that doesn't have too many distractions in the background, something that has good lighting, whether you use box lights or you have a nice big window behind the camera that lights you nicely and evens out your face. Another thing that I hear a lot is, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I get it. I hate the sound of my voice too. In fact, for years, I didn't watch my television stories because I couldn't stand watching and listening to myself. But I wasn't growing on camera the times that I didn't watch back, learn from what I did, and make changes so that the next time could be better. You really need to be able to see how you come across. One thing that I found I was doing a lot was I was like opening my eyes a lot and gesturing a lot and moving my head a lot. And nobody really told me that. I did have one producer mention it in passing, but it wasn't something that I would have even caught on to unless I sat there and watched myself, as cringe-worthy as it was. So do that. If you can't stand the sound of your own voice, another really good hack is turn down the volume and watch yourself. So before you have to actually record the thing, record yourself talking to the camera and then watch it back with no volume. And just notice, how's your posture? Are you sitting up straight? Are there weird things you're doing with your hands? One of the reasons you feel awkward is because you don't know how you come across. There's that unknown, there's that discomfort. But the more you become familiar with your own presence on camera, and this is not easy, but it is the work we have to do as creators, the more you're going to become aware of some of the habits, some of the body language, some of the things that you continuously do that are not just distracting to you, but maybe distracting and even turning off the viewers who would come to your videos, but maybe, the first few sentences, they're like, yeah, she's not my cup of tea. One of the biggest reasons I hear from clients and others who talk to me about how awkward or, weird they feel on camera is that minute that they hit record, that is just, they get all the butterflies, their hands get clammy, they get really, really uncomfortable. And part of that is this sort of fight or flight response that we get when we're in the spotlight, especially when we're not used to public speaking. So one hack that you can try to really overcome this is to hit record long before you have to deliver your lines. So what if you hit record, kind of got ready, the light was already on, and then you kind of practiced a little bit and then started talking. What that does is it takes away that moment of gulp, okay, I've got to start now, because the camera's already recording. You're already talking. So you're kind of tricking your mind into being a little less awkward because you've gotten that head start out of the way. It's almost like when you start running a marathon and then you get into your rhythm, you get into your groove, then you'll already be in that groove when you really need to start saying what you need to say. So before I would go live, when I was a television reporter, I would actually sit in front of the lens and actually say what I was going to say out loud to nobody in particular before they came to me and said, and now we're going to go to Shirley. And I would already have practiced it so that by the time I went up to go live, I wasn't saying it for the first time. So rather than sort of sitting around and waiting for them to come to me, I got that initial kind of burst of nervous energy out of the way. One question I get a lot from people is, what do I do with my hands? How do I not look awkward with my hands on camera? Well, one of the most common misconceptions is that you have to be sitting on your hands or you have to prevent your hands from moving. Actually, it's the contrary. Using your hands can make you look more confident and engaging and open you up more as a speaker. The secret is to find that balance between naturally gesturing as you would in a conversation and wildly gesturing so much that it becomes very awkward and almost a little too much and distracting. I've actually seen some pretty big YouTubers who use their hands so much that I find it distracting. Of course, they have big followings, so who am I to say? But generally speaking, gesture as you would in a normal conversation. Don't feel like you're on stage and you need to, awkwardly kind of use your hands to animate, and don't think so much about what to do with your hands because that will make you look awkward if you're thinking too hard about it. But just let your hands do what they would normally do and try to strike that balance, which it will take you some practice to find. The other tip I have for you is if this is really weird for you and you're just honestly feeling so awkward and you're like, I don't know, it's just weird. Try holding something in your hand. So a lot of people will hold their phone. I mean, if you're using your phone to film yourself, then maybe that's not the best idea. Holding something like a pen, a notebook, or your glasses even, or just something that can help you feel a little bit less see, screwing up. Something that can make you feel a little less controlled, like you're thinking so hard about it. If you actually had an object in your hand, what would you be doing with that, right? And you can get creative about this. One of the things that does look distracting is when your hands are just below the frame. So I'll only see like little bits of my fingers popping up every so often. That can be distracting. So if you're framing yourself in a certain way, try to make sure that your hands will at least come into frame every once in a while, or else you can't really see what they're doing. And just watch your shoulders. If you roll your shoulders back and open yourself up, you will instantly look more confident, less awkward, and then your hand movements will actually feel a little more natural. One of the easiest ways to take the pressure off yourself when you're looking into a lens and talking on camera is don't do what everyone else does when they first start talking to a camera. They picture this huge audience. You are not speaking to the masses. Speak to the camera like you speak to a single person. In fact, I encourage you to imagine an actual person on the other side of that camera. It could be anybody, a best friend, a mom, a partner, a child, depending on your niche and what you're talking about, maybe your ideal client. Speak like you're speaking to another person. If you were out for coffee with that person, how would you speak? And yes, this takes a bit of practice in your head, but can you imagine yourself just speaking to that person? That will, if you really think about it, instantly make you look less awkward because you're not performing, you're not on a stage, you're not trying to appeal to this big group of people, right? Like, what do I do with my eyes? I can't look at the one person in the front of the crowd. I have to kind of look around. Yes, you can. You can look into the lens and look at that person just like you would make eye contact in real life, and that also makes you come across as more confident. I watched an interview with a really big YouTuber the other day, and he wouldn't make eye contact with the lens. Now, he's got a huge following, but from a camera confidence perspective, and his niche is not camera confidence, he really didn't come across as that confident because he wouldn't look the lens, the person, in the eye. And it was something that I really noticed watching the video. So making eye contact with the camera and imagining that the camera is another person, one person, is a huge, huge hack that will instantly help you feel a little more at ease may still not be that much at ease at the beginning, but the more you picture that person, the more you will feel at ease, and also the more conversational you will be when you do speak to the camera. One mistake I see a lot of creators make is that they think they need to get everything out in one take. And some of my students will say, this was take 100. And I think, no, don't do 100 takes. You don't need to get it all out in one shot. One of the cardinal sins of editing when I was doing video storytelling as a reporter was the jump cut. It was cutting from literally me talking like this to another shot of me talking where maybe my hair is slightly different in the next shot or something like that. That's okay these days. Those rules have gone out the window. So rather than trying to get everything out in one shot and then let's say you have a good 10 seconds and then you screw up and you're like, oh, I gotta start again. No, you don't. What if you filmed your content in short bursts? That's what I'm doing right now. If you watch this video carefully, you'll notice that there's little cuts in between what I'm saying. That's because as I'm recording this, it's evening in my house. My husband is preparing dinner downstairs and my kids are on the TV and any one of them can come in this room at any moment. And so I know I don't want to get the whole thing out in one shot because then, there might be some edits and I may have to start again. So I'm just saying a piece to camera, hitting stop, checking my notes, saying another piece to camera, and that way I'm getting into this groove of putting together a video that doesn't have fluff because I'm stopping, making sure I stay on message, and then pressing record again and continuing. Speaking of which, I just did something there. I don't know if you noticed, I kind of stumbled a little bit. That's another way to feel less awkward on camera. Let yourself stumble. It's okay. In fact, it makes you look more human. How many times have you been in a conversation with someone where they stumbled? Did they go, oh my God, I have to start that story all over again? No, of course not. They just keep talking. So your videos shouldn't be any different. You should be able to pick up and keep going. It makes you more human. It makes you more relatable. And, you can laugh at yourself. Be self-deprecating. Show some of your personality. If anything, in 2025, what people want is they want authenticity and they want vulnerability and they want imperfect. Imperfect is what's hot right now. In fact, speaking of imperfect, I've had to unlearn a lot of my reporter behaviors, like the way I talk, the way I always want my hair to look a certain way. There's a lot of things that I've just had to let go of because they make me more authentic. Nobody wants to watch Reporter Girl teach them about how to be confident on camera on YouTube where they're not speaking to a news audience. You're speaking to your ideal client. You're speaking to your fans. You want to be you because you want them to see basically what they see is what they get. So on that note, you do see a big difference between the Shirley of 2006.
There's only 40,000 PS3 consoles.
And the Shirley of today. And that's a good thing. So those are just a few ways that you can instantly feel less awkward on camera right now, today. But remember, this is a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And the only really way that you are going to get better is to keep showing up, to keep hitting record, yes, even when you don't feel like it, and just put those reps in. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but it really truly is what is going to get you from awkward to confident. And just remember to be authentically you. One of the times that I hear people feel the most awkward of all is when they literally can't hit stop. That is going live. So if you want to know more about going live on LinkedIn and YouTube as part of this 90-day challenge and just sort of some of the tech setup, and I will do a video in the future about, what to do when you go live and how not to totally screw it up, I suggest that you watch this video because it's going to take you through all of that setup. And then I'm working on another video for this challenge where I'm going to talk about best practices when you're going live.